Welcome, welcome, welcome from behind the booth, friends, family, and listeners. My name is DJ Wally. I'm your host. So happy to be back here. We got a very special guest, my boy DJ Elegance, all the way from Canada, y'all. We're on a 3 hour time difference, but we made it happen, y'all. How you
Absolutely.
feeling?
Yeah, I'm good. Good morning.
Good morning, man. Good morning. Thank you so much for doing this. I appreciate you. It's been a minute since we've chatted.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Grateful to be here.
Yeah, man. So how's everything with you? How's DJ life?
Yeah, I think things are going really well. I'm based out of Toronto, Canada, and the start to this year has been different from previous years. I've been really trying to focus a lot more on corporate and wedding gigs, not so much bar club gigs. So I guess, in an effort to reduce that side of DJing, what has happened is that I'm trying to go more into content creator mode. So more mixes, trying to get some nice routines like I see you got on IG and stuff, trying to get on those levels, and just trying to produce, I think, more content that just shares my brand. So it's been a bit of a switch, and also a bit different as I'm trying to find my footing, because naturally everyone is like, what are you doing this weekend? And when you're not playing out, it feels like I should be out doing stuff, but at the same time I'm trying to better align myself with certain gigs that pay well and I feel are worth my time, as everything is going up, right? The distance to get to some venues is making it not as worth my while. Also, maybe the audience I'm not as excited to play for, and then just the reality of the cost of living, gas, all these kind of things, right? So when you're traveling far for certain gigs, you want to make sure it's worth it. But yeah, that's just like a little bit on the DJ angle that's been new, or I've been kind of transitioning to.
Yeah, so you're saying that you've been trying to kind of like you're trying to like change lanes a little bit. I think you're saying, and you're kind of leaning into the corporate and like wedding gigs, is that right?
Yeah, yeah. I
Um
mean, so my goal is to do about 30 weddings a year. I'm like just a sole operator, and then, or I guess I position myself as a sole operator, small boutique. So if I get double booked, I have a small team of other people that I would rely on for gigs. So that's generally my focus: 30 weddings a year. That's always my goal. I do like a lot of corporates. I band together with some other DJs, do like trade shows, conventions, things of that nature. And then I guess I would steal the words from another DJ homie in Toronto. He's a big time producer, and he always says, I'm a producer, but I moonlight as a DJ. So I would say that I'm a mobile DJ, and then I moonlight as a club DJ.
mm, got you. So the reason behind that is just, like what is the reason, that you want to focus more in those areas?
Yeah, like I think the main reason is, I think a few things. I mean, I'm a husband, I got kids, I have a family, and I want to make sure that on my night out, I'm able to maximize it and monetize it to the best of my capability. So that's a strong factor, because DJing is what I do full time. I'll share some other things that I do as well. The second thing really is that I feel like I want to be in environments where I feel like the audience kind of is in alignment with my skill set. And not to say that I mean, I do all kinds of events, but I just feel like for matching my talent as an MC, event planner, DJ, which I have background in all those three things, that seems to better, it seems to be more appreciated in a corporate or wedding setting. And then obviously the money matches the skill set, right? Where, the bar scene here in Toronto, I mean, it can be as low as like a couple $100 to maybe like 700, right? Maybe even 1,000. I'm just taking a guess on like the super top end. I haven't really talked with a lot of DJs that I know that are like directly in that scene. There's only like a few really, really big venues in the city of Toronto that you'd probably get over 700. But I think for a lot of guys, you're making probably like 500 a night to 700 if you're a more seasoned DJ, depending on the venue. So, obviously when you're doing a wedding and you can do thousands of dollars worth, you're just looking at, hey, where do I best want to spend my time? And also, where does my skill set get best appreciated? Definitely in a wedding environment where you're being a part of someone's day and you're transforming it forever, where they're going to remember you, or a corporate where they're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars having a skilled operator, DJ professional in that environment. It just seems to be much more appreciated. So, and then again, the money to match.
Um, two questions. First question is, if you don't mind me asking, how old are you? Sorry, cut out right there.
Yeah, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was asking, how old are you?
Me, okay, so I turned 51 in
Shoot.
May. Yeah, man.
Okay. Damn, bro. I would have never guessed that. I would have never
I
guessed that.
know. We never talked about that, but yeah, as they say, black don't crack, right? So, God is good. And yeah, I'm grateful that I don't look my age and I don't feel my age, right? I still have fire in the belly and a
Yeah.
strong desire to just still be out operating, hauling gear around, and doing what I'm doing.
I even I even think that you sound young. Like you just your voice is like it just you just have like a young, feel to you. So
Yeah,
that is
appreciate it.
good. And how long have you been DJing?
So that's the thing. So I would say from 2009 onward, right? 2009
Yeah.
onward is when I started really taking things seriously.
Yeah.
Um, so the funny thing is that what drew me into DJing was that I used to promote, and I guess I used to do different events in the city of Toronto here. I would do a nightlife party with myself and a few other friends, and it would be probably about 300 people that would come to this night that I used to do. And I remember one time this DJ, DJ Agile, he's like a big producer and a big time staple DJ in the city of Toronto. I remember one time he had on Serato, he had like a song that I could see, and I didn't know anything about the mechanics or beat matching or blending at that point. I just felt energy. And I remember telling him, don't choose this song that I could see on the Serato, just play this song. And when I saw the response that my track got, I was like, ooh, maybe I could DJ. Like I like this. And when I saw the reaction that my track got with the crowd, I started getting interested, right, to learn. So the first few years was just kind of like figuring things out. I was at that awkward intersection of like, are we doing vinyl, CDJs, or Serato Scratch Live? And so yeah, I went to a school to learn. The school is no longer running here in Toronto. It was called Scratch Lab back in the day, and a lot of big DJs in Toronto were instructors there. And then I took lessons, and then what happened was I started booking DJs for gigs, and then I would just support them, and then I would try to play like a little 1-2, set here and there, a couple of mixes, and then eventually what ended up happening was that I ended up just booking myself and putting myself out there for gigs. And then within a short period of time, I went from, terrible mixes in my den to my biggest show was probably about 3,000 people last year, November. So, yeah, so from 2009 onward, and um, I would say probably from about 2013 to now was when I decided to do it full time. And then yeah, I branched off into a couple other things, which you're aware of, but I'll share, but I'll just stop there. But yeah, that's basically my trajectory into DJing and how I got started. It was actually through party planning and promotion. It kind of pulled me in, and then I was just like, yeah, like let's do this. I love this. This is like amazing.
Yeah, and the funny thing about that is, like, the reason I asked those questions was because it's interesting to me how I feel that you and I are similar in the mindset of the things that you're thinking about are the things that I'm thinking about. And I was kind of curious, like, if there was any correlation. So the age thing is different, right? Like, you're turning 51, I just turned 33. However, I did start in 2009. So you and I are like very similar in,
Oh
like, like our time span as far as DJing goes. And I
yeah,
mean, like, the things that you're saying are the exact things that I feel, like I don't necessarily want to do, and I think it's just cuz I haven't defined it like that, but I don't necessarily want to do corporate and weddings. Um but I do want more money, right? So I'm kind of looking a little bit more towards like big birthday parties, like 30th, 40th, 50th. Like I'm kind of interested in going that route because I know that same thing that you're saying, that the money will correlate with the music, like the value of the actual music and the DJ. Um that's like a big thing to me right now, is I just want to go where I'm valued, and appreciated. I don't I've been I've been DJing too long to be in the background where like nobody could, well, pretty much where people could care less of like who it is, you know? Like, and I don't know, a part of me is, I think, even saying that out loud, it's because I do like the attention when I'm DJing. And um I think maybe like that I was spoiled with that, and I like to be at the forefront, and I like people to be paying attention. I think it's because I've taken time to perfect my craft. And so yeah, I want to be noticed,
yeah,
um I want the skills to be like appreciated. I want the music and the selection to be appreciated, I do. So that is why I'm kind of like leaning towards that direction. I don't mind weddings, but they're just not my favorite. I think there's a lot of extra work that comes with them, so that's kind of why I'm not like, really, like, they're not my favorite.
yeah,
And corporate, I think corporate are cool, but I think that they could be a little, I think sometimes corporate can be a little bit like they just want you for like the name, not necessarily like if they actually like are looking for your skills, like they actually like care about you. Like, prime example, I feel like a lot of companies would book a big name without even knowing who the name is. They
mm,
they just want, DJ A track at their big freaking, unveiling or whatever. But do they actually know what A track sounds like, what he does? You know, Not necessarily. Um, and that's just, I know that's not every case, but I know that can be the case. So that's kind of why, like, I'm not really like leaning towards corporate a little, like, as so much. But yeah, I really want to do that. Like, I really want to do like the big birthday party stuff. I think that that's where I would be appreciated because of my like vast knowledge in the decades. Like, I have deep crates in like 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s. Like, I can go as deep as you want to go, kind of deal. Um, so that
yeah.
I haven't, and
Nice.
I haven't tried that too much. So I want to. That's kind of my goal, is to do that, and then gather content there, and then output it. That's my like most recent focus. I have my, and then just talking about other things that are going on. Like, I had my party, but that's on hiatus right now because I'm having a baby. I'm having a baby
Yes.
next month, so I
Boom.
didn't want to do, have the baby and then deal with the party. And also it's just it is money out of my pocket for the party. It's not free, you know. So I was like, you know what, let me just chill this year, and then if I can get back to it next year, I'd love to. But you know, everything costs money, and then like you said, everything's inflation is crazy right now, and everything's double.
Yeah. Yeah, you covered a lot of things. I think like going back to being in the right type of environment. I think for DJs listening, because I know the other thing that we have in a lot of similarity, and I definitely want to chat a little bit about the work I'm doing with Love Music Initiative, is that I know that you're also an instructor and you have instructed in past and taught people, to DJ and stuff like that. So I think like I don't know, like I'm grateful for the platform to be able to share maybe some insights because I always feel as if there's like this slight war between like club or mobile DJ.
Mm.
And maybe not a war, but I feel like there's like an interesting I would like there to be more dialogue, right? Because I think that a lot of people who are coming up in the DJ game, there's this impression that in order to be considered a DJ, you have to remain in clubs. But there's so many avenues where you can DJ as a DJ operator. Like for example, part of my mobile portfolio is that I do in-store retail gigs, right?
Mhm.
So Mac Cosmetics, Lululemon, Bench Clothing, Foot Locker, Foot Action, Holt Renfrew. Like these are spaces and places where I've DJ'd. And I mean, that's good money. It's during the day. You can get in, get out, be home the latest 9, right? There's stuff you can do at a retirement home. I also do gigs at school because I run a school based arts based educational initiative. So sometimes I do a fun fair, right? Which is like what we call a fun fair, simply like with bouncy castles and a dunk tank and popcorn machine. Not sure what you call it in the states, but there's that. There's proms. There's grads. Like there's in the not-for-profit sector where I've done a lot of work. There's venue openings. Like an organization launches themselves, they can open a venue. You can, there's opportunities to do stuff online. So I think if you're open, there's lots of money to be made everywhere, and you don't have to be sort of like elbowing your way into, fighting tooth, hook and nail to get into like, a $500 or less gig, right? And
Yeah.
backstabbing other DJs to try to make it, or undercutting. Like, I think if you have a prosperity and sort of a growth mindset and thinking abundantly, get creative and think about where else can you offer music to individuals, right? Where you can make good money. And as you mentioned, um, uh, have something that aligns with your skill set. The second thing I've learned is that I've always been told that the club game is kind of stroking your ego, whereas the corporate game, yes, there's a bit more money. So with that comes sometimes a bit more responsibility, and I think as an operator, you have to decide like maybe what lane do I want to be in, right? And where or how do I want to shine? Because yes, sometimes when you're doing a corporate, I mean, I'm doing a 3,000, 4,000 person trade show with exhibitors everywhere. And my job is to play music for maybe half an hour on a break and then just call people over. Like in some way, it's not so glamorous in the sense that people aren't throwing their hands up in the air, cheering and screaming and jumping. But as one DJ mentor used to always tell me, is that, as long as people's ears are open, as long as people's ears are open, they're hearing what you're playing, right? And so if you're able to maybe in some cases put your ego aside and just be open and flexible, there can be certain work for you. But at the end of the day, I think the most important thing is that as a DJ operator, that you try to align yourself with a network of DJs, network of club owners, network of corporate contacts, and people that like respect you, trust you, and give you the freedom um, to be in your lane, to kind of express express your talents, right? And so for me, I'm very grateful in the sense that I am a mobile DJ in the truest sense. Like, this weekend coming up, I have, um, I was supposed to do a venue launching for a new night, but they decided to push it back to May, but that's going to happen. I'll be DJing at a brewery. And then the next thing I'll be doing is a wedding on Saturday. And then on Sunday, I'm going to be DJing for someone who's turning 90. And
Nice.
so for me, I enjoy like the extreme nature of all those types of events.
They must be doing good partying at 90. Shoot.
I know, right?
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, man. I agree. I agree with what you're saying for sure. It all does make sense, and like I said, it's funny how like we are at that point where we're like, yeah, we've done all these things, and like now, we're kind of ready for like just stuff where we appreciate it, and um, what aligns. I think what's important too is that, like, out of everything you said, also is that just you do want to try to do things that align with you now, because I think the cool thing is, like, once you've DJ'd for long enough and you've done enough events, then you get a feel of what you like, what you genuinely enjoy, and you should push that avenue. You should definitely push in the area where you enjoy it the most, because that's where people are going to have the most out. They're going to get the most out of you.
Yeah.
Like, that's where you are your funnest. That's where you're most, where you shine the brightest. So push in that area, and whatever that is, whatever lights you up, and then the like, the more fun you have, and the brighter that you shine, the more money you're gonna get in that area too. So
Yeah, like momentum,
play
right?
into your strengths for sure.
Yeah, sorry, I was gonna say, I find a lot of things are about momentum, right? And so yeah, for myself, it's been challenging, I think. Like the first 2 years of my DJ journey, when I left a full-time job and salary and benefits, and then jumped into DJing, I think it was similarly related to party promotion. So people, when I jumped into it, they were like, they're like, okay, but when I first started out, I mean, it was hard to be booked. I mean, even my own family wasn't exactly jumping to have me booked, right? And I think it took a while for people to kind of see me in this light and to see that I was taking it seriously. And I think the more I kept posting and sharing my journey, and people could see that this is something that I'm really going after and really passionate about, people started to also take me seriously. So some gems I'm trying to drop for all the people that are just starting out. Maybe the bookings may not come right away, but I guarantee if you stay at it, then good things are going to happen. And now with my family, I'm the go to person. Like, I do all the weddings in my family, all the special events. I even have like friends who, because I've only been DJing since 2009, right? In comparison to some other DJs in my market, they've got double, if not triple, on me in terms of the amount of years. But for certain events, I have friends that they don't call those DJs because those DJs seem to only be in one lane, right? And I think people appreciate like my professionalism. They appreciate my flexibility, that I'm easy to work with, and they can also see the variety of events that I've done. That they feel that they can trust me in certain environments, right, to ensure that I'm able to deliver a certain experience that's going to fit the event that I'm being asked to do, right? Another big thing too is that because I work a lot in community and with kids, right? Playing clean edited music, right? There's times where I've been in environments where DJs played dirty versions of music, and it's like it's a little bit cringe and off-putting, right? When we're hearing F this, N word that, you know, be this, HOE this and that, like it doesn't really translate well at a 90th birthday party, a 60th birthday party, a 40th birthday party, like depending on the individual. And particularly in a community event, absolutely playing dirty versions of tracks is definitely not a good look. And I feel, my own personal opinion, I feel it definitely shows like a lack of professionalism in those environments, right? Where you're trying to, you're trying to pander to the masses and try to be careful of the songs you're picking in terms of maybe the content, right? If it's appropriate, like having young kids around hearing certain words is not good. And then also if it's again dirty versions, it's like, yeah, it's not really a good look.
I want to pull things back a little bit. I wrote down a couple things that I wanted to talk to you about. So, one of the things that you said was about, talking to the new generation, like that's getting into DJing. I think it was important to note this, and that is that you were saying, be patient with your gigs. They will come. Just give it some time. I think another important thing that I wanted to remind people that are in that space too, that are newer DJs, is like sometimes what also can happen is you can get like really amazing gigs in like the first year, just maybe because people are excited that you're a DJ and then you're out and you're doing it. um but you can get like really good stuff like the first year, and then the second year like it could kind of just disappear, and that could be discouraging. So that's also just something, because I've had literally a good friend of mine that happened to them. Like they're getting like all these gigs, and then like the following year they were like, yo, I'm not getting nothing this year, blah blah. And I'm just like, hey man, like you've been DJing for officially 1 year. Like it just takes time to build that clientele, and don't get down on yourself. um Consider yourself lucky that you got those gigs that you did. And then it's kind of like, hopefully that creates like that hunger, kind of like what you're talking about, like where you still got that fire in the belly. But that's what it should do, right? It's all about perspective and like how you handle it. And so if you get that taste, you like it, okay, cool, you like it, like go after it, go get it, right? So that's one thing that I wanted to like add to that. And then I did have a question, because I think that this is always like, this is a hard topic that doesn't get discussed enough. So I did want to see, pick your brain about it, and then just just get any type of insight that I could, because it's like a topic that's kind of taboo, I think. So I wanted to ask you about the whole, like, you say you do a lot of events with family. How do you charge family? Any type of insight that you
Mm,
could go into charging family, because I know that that's a hard one.
yeah, like so I guess with like my immediate family, like my brother, my sister, and stuff, for their kids, yeah, like my rule of thumb is that I'm doing the event for free, right? Like that's like my like most immediate family. So I did my sister, it was free. I did my brother's free. um I've done two of my two of my sisters, my nieces. I did their wedding for free. But I think when it comes to cousins, right? Cousins that I'm maybe not as close with, yes, they are family, but if I see you sort of like once a year, yeah, like we're family, but respectfully, um, if I'm taking your night, right, and we're just not as close, right? And so for me, it's a combination of, hey, like, you know, if I'm doing your event for free, obviously it's about the relationship, right? Yes, they are family, but we're not as close. And it's like if I do your date for free, but then someone else calls me and it could be a paid gig, right? Then I'm kind of putting myself into a bit of a challenging position, particularly because my family is quite big. So just to put some things in context, um, my stepmother, on her side of the family, we do a reunion every year in August, and it's about, now it started off with maybe like three families coming together. Now it's kind of grown a little bit as other extended families been pulled in, but it was generally about three or four families. Now there's like, I would say probably easily over 150 people. maybe even 200 people that come together in one weekend in August and just celebrate being a family.
That's
And
awesome.
so it's like, yeah, if I did everyone's event all throughout the year for free, right? Like I would be kind of out of business. So that's generally that's generally my rule of thumb, right? Um, just in general, outside of family, yeah, like I've done events for free, starting out. Even as I've been older in my DJ career, like even when I think back to maybe even like 3 or 4 months ago, I had a really close friend that I've known from high school. She's kind of launching a night. She asked for my help. I mean, I could have been a stickler and said, "Hey, I know we're friends, but you gotta pay me something for my time." But the reality is that I look at it as like not everything needs to be monetized, right? As much as I would obviously like to be paid every time I'm out because this is what I do full time. But sometimes there's just giving back to people who have been giving to you and pouring into you, right? This friend in particular has been, first of all, aside from referring me to a few big jobs, has just always been someone who's been a great moral supporter, has someone who's always offered advice, always been very encouraging, always said, hey, like, I love what you're doing. I remember when you started and seeing where you are now. Like just keep going. And so yeah, like I just DJ'd the night for her. I was myself and a few other DJs. So I did a couple sets, and then hey, I'm happy to launch your night. She just did like a one off party. She's gonna probably plan on doing it again. And I was just grateful just to kind of be in a position to kind of in that situation just give back. So I know that the topic of paid or free always comes up, but I think again, you want to just weigh things as to what the ask is and if it makes sense for you, right?
Yeah.
Um, to make sure that it's fair to them and fair to yourself, right?
Yeah.
Because it's the relationship, right? It sometimes can be a bit tricky. The one thing I would always say though is that if your conscience, right, if you feel like you're going against your conscience and you feel like you're being exploited, taken advantage of, manipulated in some way, then I think you have to start putting your foot down and saying, "Hey, like I'm happy to do this for you, but I can only commit an hour and a half long set, or I can DJ from, it's a weeknight. I can DJ from 6 till 11, like fit me in, but at 11 I have a hard stop. I have to go because I have work the next day or other responsibilities. So you just want to make sure that it's not like I just need you for a few hours and the next thing you know we're doing till 3 a.m., right? And it becomes a situation where you're getting taken advantage of.
Yeah. I mean, it's yeah. It can be tough. It definitely can be tough, especially I mean, not that these are like directly correlated, but it feels like it. It's like you you kind of like you mix the whole idea of being a nice person with like this business aspect, so it could get kind of like what is it, like it can just kind of like divert, they can go separate ways sometimes. Like you're being really, you're nice, you feel like, oh, you want to be nice to this person, but at the same time it's like it is a business. And like you said, you have to be respectable to yourself as well, so I mean, and I had somebody like in my family, had they hired, they booked me per se for like, they booked me for 3 events. I think two of them I did for, yeah, two of them I did completely free. And then by the third one, I was like, pretty much, the third one was like in my own head. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna do this, but like, hopefully at the end of this, like, they're gonna give me some gas money or something, right? And they didn't. And I never communicated that, but I felt like, yo, I'm doing a full ass gig for you. And this is 3 times, like, this is like a whatever birthday party, then two more events, like literally where I'm driving my truck, bringing all my gear, setting up, doing my thing, and like the person was kind of close to me in the family, and so by that third one, I felt exploited. I felt, I felt wronged, and I didn't like it. And then I don't think I told them directly, but I kind of just like, I think I probably told my mom. I don't think she told anybody. Well, actually, I don't know, because her sister, it's kind of like I'm like getting like into specifics, but pretty much like, um I told my mom, and it was her sister's daughter that like all of it was going down, right? And so I don't know if my mom actually told her sister, and then her sister told her mom. I mean, her daughter. I don't know, but I did. I think that they also got the hint, because pretty much like I stopped talking to them, just because, like I said, I felt wronged. I really did, and it could have been, depending on however you look at it, and your opinion, maybe there was no wrong in the whole exchange of things, and it was just on me because I never communicated and I never said anything. So, depending on your opinion, you could completely blame me, and if so, okay, that's fine. But like you said, like with my gut feeling, I felt like come on, man, like, y'all couldn't give me like gas money, couldn't give me nothing. Like, I think,
I think
at the bare minimum, I have somebody come fix my car 3 times, I'm gonna kick them down something, or whatever it is. I just, I would, me as a person would feel like that's wrong. Like, I wouldn't just keep, to me it's like you're just taking, like you're just letting this
the
person bend over backwards for you. Go ahead.
the yeah, like I mean, the thing is, right, is that what I've learned is that at the end of the day, like the responsibility is on us,
Mhm.
right? And that's where, it's kind of tough to hear, and it's also like an internal struggle, right? Because you want to, maybe the perception is you want to be perceived to be a nice guy,
Mhm.
but I guess what I'm learning with business is that it shouldn't be emotional, right? And so I think like what I have maybe the last 3 4 years been a lot better at is being more comfortable with having those tough conversations and having them a little bit more upfront. And I still struggle at times as well, but I would say like 80 90% of the time now, I'm having more of those conversations to just ensure that I'm kind of fighting for myself. So here's an example. I have a corporate coming up in September. I'll give you a few examples. And I think just at the end, what I'm saying is like, it's a learning experience for you now to negotiate things differently the next time. And I think what I'm hearing is like having boundaries, right? And if you have boundaries or you've established sort of the line of communication as to like the point of no return or where we're stopping, if you have that conversation ahead of time, then at least that person can adjust themselves. So, for example, if you were to say to your family member, "Hey, like this is now the third time you've asked me, like I didn't charge you. I'm not going to charge you anything for this time either. But if you can, as a tip, or if I put out a tip jar, or if you want to ask people if they want to, throw something into a jar for me, or if you just want to surprise me with a little something at the end, I am bringing over all my gear, something for like, my gas or something. If you can just throw me a little something at the end of the night, you decide what it is. At least now there's like an expectation that if the guy gives you $50, it's like a little bit insulting, right? If he gives you like at least a couple of hundred, it's like, okay, like we're, maybe breaking something down if it's like whatever, like 30, $40 an hour, $50 an hour. Or if it's just like, hey, here's a little something for gas and here's another 100 for your lady, you guys can go out and have like a dinner somewhere or something, right? At least there's like that platform's been laid, right? It will maybe help in future. But yeah, I have this tricky situation coming up in the fall, and it's a with a big bank. I'm doing the event for, so I asked some probing questions. Originally, I thought that they just needed a DJ, and then it turns out that the venue actually doesn't have any sound. So now it's like, whoa, like this whole event is taking on a totally different personality, and it's going to require a different level of expertise being added on to the pile. So I have a tech assistant who's going to be bringing in uplights, big subwoofers, a line array of speakers. I'm able to carry some stuff, but like, not two big subwoofers, six levels of speakers. I don't have like a cube van. I just have an SUV. And typically the weddings that I do are 200 people or less. So with my own vehicle, I can manage that. Once it gets beyond that or a much bigger space, I usually call in for help.
Yeah.
Um, so I gave them a quote, right? I gave them a quote for service. And then now, even just last week, the person asked me, hey, if we go an extra hour and a half, hour or two longer, like what's the cost, right? So the original time was to go till about 10:30, and then they were asking for like 11. So I just said, hey, in the email, I actually reached out to another friend that does corporates, and I said, have you ever had this situation where you kind of agreed on a price based on the time, and then the client wanted to add more time beforehand? So when I asked for his advice, another gem dropping, right, is talk to your DJ friends if you're meeting a circumstance or you're unsure about something. There's lots of wisdom out there. And he just basically said, this is what I do in the situation. So where the area is about an hour and a half away from me, almost 2 hours. So the time that I was originally going to leave would have given me time to like get home at kind of like a decent time where I'm not going to be like too tired. However, if we push the event back another hour and a half, hour and a half, like instead of leaving there at 10:30 and getting home at like 12:30, if I go till 12, now I'm getting home at like 2:30, right? Now if I'm tired, I'm on the road. We don't want that. So I just simply fire back an email saying, hey, because we want to build a long-term relationship with you, like we're okay to go an extra half hour at no cost. However, if we're going to go over the hour, like we have to account for my tech assistant's time. And then just based on the length of travel to get there, like we would also be looking at accommodation. So like I fired her back the amount, and she said, yeah, like that's fine, right? And so I was nervous because I'm like, ooh, I don't know if I want to charge more, but I'm like, I have to charge more just out of principle. And also, um, you can't go to any other business and get things for free, right?
Mm,
Unless they're like some kind of new business or maybe they're doing some kind of special promotion. Like, even though it's free, they're going to try and hook you on something else. So it's like,
yeah.
here's free fries for our launch night, but then, oh, why don't you get a burger with it reduced from 4.99, 5.99, 9.99 down to
Yeah.
1.99? Like
Yeah.
there's something happening there where even the freeness is still a way for them to hook you. So just like you can't go to Dunkin' Donuts, right? In Canada, we have Tim Hortons, right? You just can't walk in there and get free coffee. Like you're paying for something, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Even if it's reduced. So yeah, so those are like a couple things I feel are important, and I feel like I'm trying to get better at having those uncomfortable conversations because if I don't charge, I'm taking food out of my mouth and my kid's mouth, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Good stuff. Good stuff. I love that. And then what's cool about what you said is it kind of like led me to like my next thought. And so, with all that, have you uh incorporated or do you utilize AI at all yet? Did you get that? You got me? Can you hear me? Uh,
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry, there was a
little
weird
lag.
delay. I'm here. Yeah, a weird lag there, but I'm here. Yeah. Repeat what you
Okay.
were saying? Sorry.
Yeah. So no worries. I think it was on my end, anyways. My question was, um, have you started to incorporate AI, or do you utilize AI at all in yeah with DJing, I'll say, and
Mhm.
because of like kind of like what we were talking about, it led me to this question.
Okay, yeah, no, I'm not. I don't know if I would even know where to start. Um, yeah, using it. I don't even know where I would start using AI. I mean, I know that, for example, I do some design work in Canva, and I've heard that you can use AI in Canva, but yeah, I've not incorporated AI in my DJing. Have you?
Yes, very much so. So let me put you on game here, my friend. Um, so for one, this whole like the whole email process, like I currently utilize Chat GPT, and I've been on it like since I've discovered it, since my like friend told me about it. I just been heavily on it. I love it. I don't know, maybe. And I think important thing that like Will I am said about it is that you're a creative, so look at it in the optimistic view, and that's definitely like how I view it. I'm not looking into all the negative things that may come about or whatever it is. I think of course those things can come about, with anything. But I'm harnessing it as a tool right now. So the one thing that kind of comes to mind is like with emails, right? So cool thing I've done with it before is I was talking to a corporation that I was trying to get a little bit more money, and I ran it through AI and asked it like how to like kind of like frame it so that it sounds professional, but I could ask for more money. So
Okay.
literally, and you could ask it anything and it'll do anything, and it'll do it in its best ability. Maybe it's not the like the the most accurate thing in the world, but you can try, and then you can use your knowledge from what you know plus that answer, and then create your own answer, right? So I pretty much told it like, hey, I'm talking to this client. My current rate is, let's just say, $1,000. I want 2,500. What are some things that I could say, and then it'll give me like an answer, and then I could refine it. Everything can be refined, right? So I could be like, okay, cool, that's a good answer, but I want you to add that now I have a technician, now I have six line array speakers, I want you to add that I have subs, and incorporate that into the conversation. So then it'll rewrite the whole thing, and it'll be like, it'll figure out a nice neat way of saying, with cost of living, blah blah. It'll add all that stuff, and then again, you can revise it to like, if you like what it's saying, but then there's parts that you don't like, then you can just delete those things. And then boom, like you have a really professional email that you are happy with, and it can sound just like you. So that's one thing that's pretty awesome about it that I've utilized it for, is like professional conversations. Another thing is, I mean, there's really so many avenues that I've already utilized it, but that's one way. Another way is I have this website called Books that I just started doing like my bookings through, and
Okay.
that has a built-in AI. So I had somebody message me about sending a quote over, and the cool thing is it has a built-in AI. So then I looked at it on my phone, which is crazy because I got the message that I got a inquiry, right? I open up my phone, I open up the app, I look at the inquiry, and it says like, before anybody can email me, they have to fill out like a contact form, and it has all the things that are, time frame, the date, blah blah blah, right? So I looked at that, and then like the next button is like, I think it said like AI generated answer, right? So I just clicked it just to see what this was about. And then it like got all the information, it got the person's name, and it said like, "Hey, Sally, very interested in performing at your daughter's wedding on May, blah, blah, blah." Like it did all of that, all of it for me. And then it says, like, let's schedule a call, blah, blah, blah. And then it's like, do you want to send? Or would you like to regenerate? And then it also had options to like change the tone. Like maybe you want it more direct, maybe you want it more friendly, you know.
Wow.
and you could do all that. And that was, like I said, that's and the shameless plug, I don't get paid for this, but that was through the Honeybook application. So boom, that's like number two utilization of AI right there. Another one is with DJing. I mean, there's just, like I said, there's just so many avenues. But for one, I've used AI like live when I'm playing out, and I've asked it like for song recommendations. I could ask it for like, prime example. Let's just say there's a genre that I'm not very familiar with. So like, I type in, give me top 10 songs, uh, merengue, that are merengue, and then it'll make a list of, the top 10, in its opinion, the top 10 songs. Now I'm not gonna lie, like those songs are sometimes hit or miss, but just the ability to hit those things instantaneously is pretty crazy. And it's, it's like it's a ability that we've never really had. So like I said, there's just so many things I could even um another way that I utilized it was uh when I did this school conference recently in Miami. I have a person who comes from Atlanta, and I know this sounds bad, but like, I'm not always that keen on like where artists are from, like obviously I know that, Ti and Ludacris are like from Atlanta, but like after that, like I don't know my head, and it's not that instantaneous. Like maybe if you gave me a couple minutes to think about it, I could think about it. But on the fly as a DJ, sometimes that shit has to be instant. And so, in that moment, I typed in Chat GPT and I was like, "Hey, give me 10 artists that are from Atlanta," and bam, instantaneously, I had 10 artists, and I could just go down a list of tracks like that I had in my Serato, and load them up for the guest speaker that was from Atlanta, and I could, they were like, "Yo, give me some track from ATL," and then boom, 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 just start hitting them with the stuff that I already had, but the artists that I didn't necessarily know were from ATL. Um, so those are like three, just like right off the bat, like things that kind of came to mind and how I've been utilizing it. But I mean, I think you could see, like, I hope your wheels are starting to turn in there, and you're like, dang, that's kind of crazy.
No, absolutely. I think when you mention it like that, yeah, like I've used ChatGPT for some of my arts based educational work, but I've not used it that way for DJing. So yeah, I may put in there like how to handle like a negotiation, or how to ask for a higher rate, or how to position a response to get X, Y, and Z. So I'm going to start using that, because I am. So yeah, as I'm thinking back, I am using ChatGPT for some different things. Like even just the other day, I did a workshop on microaggressions. So this is in my arts based educator hat, and I had to chat in front of about 70 teachers, and I'm trying to help them to use better language, build better therapeutic rapport with the students, and for them to just be check themselves and hold themselves accountable if they're not challenging inappropriate words that students are using, or even teachers. And so I put a few things in chat gpt for some case scenarios, and it did pour down a few things. But yeah, I haven't used it for DJing. I think when you mentioned have I used AI for DJing, I was thinking, oh, is this like a sync thing again? Like
Mhm.
my mind was racing in that direction.
Yeah, yeah, man. So that's how I've been utilizing it. So I've been championing it, like advocating for it, I'll say, and trying to get people that are like-minded and creative on it, because I think it's an important tool that people are not utilizing, and I know that it will be fully utilized within a couple years. But if you're ahead of the curve, then you can really take advantage of it, and maximize from it. So I've been just telling the homies, just giving them the heads up, like, hey, I try to tell you. So definitely, doing that. And you can, as you could ask it any question. You could ask it like, how would you go best about getting booked for Coachella? and it'll give you an answer. I mean, and like I heard DJ Spider, and I forget who he was talking to, but they were talking about like the answers and like the accuracy of it, and they were like, that's some pretty good advice, when they were asking it questions that were similar to that. And they're like, yeah, that's things that I would say or things that I would do, and that's not that far from the reality. So highly encourage that. You did mention the sync, so I'm just going to use that as a perfect segue for the stuff that we've seen recently. For those of you who are watching, I have a Coachella T-shirt on, and recently there was some craziness at Coachella with RL Grime, and she was DJing, and she had a DJ malfunction. Did you see this? I sent you a video. I don't know if you were able to watch it. You watched it? You saw that video?
Yeah,
Okay.
I have seen the video. I've been seeing the video. I've been leaving some comments on some different social platforms, and yeah, some people have
Comments like
been
what?
liking some of my.
Comments like
Well,
what?
yeah, like so. For example, um, I mean, I know some people are saying, "Hey, like, be sympathetic," and she's only human, and all this kind of stuff. Which, yeah, she is. But I just think like to be in that position where a lot of working DJs would just give their left arm for, and not and to not be prepared, right? And know how your gear worked, it's like a bit embarrassing, right? And I
Mm.
think it does the craft of DJing and makes DJs look like, a bit of a joke. And I think as an operator myself and an educator, I think I'm very mindful that I always want to try to position DJing in the best light, and I want people to take me seriously. This is what I do full time. So I don't show up to a gig and be like, hey, like I'm here with like a broken speaker and like one turntable, one CDJ, or my controller, the jog wheel doesn't work, or one input works. Like this is just all we got, and it's like a joke thing, right? Like I do this for real, and so I always want to make sure that as a DJ that the like I'm taken seriously, right? And that people know I'm a professional, and that the art of DJing and how people look at DJs, it won't be like this is like just it's a joke. Like just throw anyone out there and whatever. So yeah, I've kind of been leaving a lot of those comments and just saying it's been inexcusable for her to not know double time and not know her equipment, and never mind using sync, which I totally abhor. Like I just don't like it at all. And I guess this is one of those reasons, right? You got someone with a pre-programmed set using sync, whatever, and it's like they're still messing up. And it's like everyone wants to advocate for using the technology, but then here we have a situation where the person doesn't know what the hell they're doing, even if they're using sync. Like they now that it doesn't work, they don't know what they're doing. Like these are the reasons why we want people to know the art form of how to DJ and beat match and count and know phrasing and understand how to transition the song tastefully, because sync can't save you, right?
Mm-hmm. Um, I think we hit a soft spot here.
Absolutely. So yeah, I'm just like, as a professional against it, and I think as someone who teaches people how to DJ, yeah, I don't encourage them to use the sync button at all. I'm more of a fan of someone using the beat pad to mix, or definitely using like the jog wheel on a controller or the CDJ or techniques. It's like I want you to impose your will on the music and scratch that bad boy in and drop it, softly blend it in, whatever you're doing. But yeah, I'm not an advocate of the sync button at all, and I feel like her lack of equipment mastery is one thing, and then again using that's one strike, and then using sync is a second. And for crying out loud, you had someone else pre-prepare your set. Like I don't know, do you take no pride in trying to curate an experience for your audience that's a bit more intuitive or maybe a bit more in the moment, right? Or is it just I'm throwing out 30 songs, it doesn't matter how people react, or because everyone's a fanboy, a fangirl, it doesn't matter really what I play, they're gonna love it anyway. Like, I don't know. For me personally, I don't feel like that's the reason why I'd be happy about playing a big festival. I'd be happy knowing that they vibed off exactly what I gave them in the moment as I was reading it, right?
I think
I don't,
one thing too. I just want to correct myself before it gets too far. Is that I said RL Grime? It's not RL Grime. It's just Grimes. I just had to double check that. It
yes.
could get a little confusing. RL Grime and Grimes. I want to clarify that before somebody crucifies me on this thing. But yeah, no, I think yeah, there's a lot to be said about it. That's why I definitely wanted to talk about it, and I'm glad that we were able to like get here. But I think and from an educator's perspective, I think what we can educate people about the situation is what can be learned from that. If I was teaching it, if I was currently teaching a class, I think that would be that would be the thing to showcase and to really like to translate for people is just like help them understand, and how can this be like used as a learning lesson. And so for one, like you said, like know your gear, you have a rider, so I'm sure that gear is like the gear that was requested. They take breaks, they set up what you put on your rider. So if you're not familiar with that gear, then don't request that gear. Especially at a place like Coachella, like they'll literally give you anything you want. You want a freaking, I don't know, little virtual DJ iPad controller thing, like they'll get it for you. It's Coachella. They have everything. So that's
Absolutely.
one, definitely like put gear in front of you that you are familiar with. Um, Two, I don't know. I don't think that she didn't have her own music. I didn't research that too much, but I'm not saying that I don't think she didn't know her music. I think she knew it. I think the part that was wrong, and I also seen like a breakdown with DJ SK83. He was explaining that one of her songs, or maybe multiple of her songs, were not beat gridded right. So one of them was at like the double time, and then another one was at the halftime. And then when he gave the breakdown, I think it might even be like a glitch with Pioneer that when you hit sync, it um it double times the halftime track, and so that's what was going on, and that track was like just going bonkers. And my question is, because I haven't used those CDJs enough, I wonder if it was a simple like, I don't know why she didn't either. I don't know if she didn't change the song, or if she didn't like try to turn that sync off and then try to just do it you know manually. I'm not sure. And so that part, is another like learning lesson. Another important part of the whole piece, and I think you can agree with this, is the importance of like composure, right? Like if your stuff is spazzing out, don't get on the mic and then tell thousands of people like, I don't know what's going on here. My shit's fucked up. Like you gotta keep it under control. And to the best of your ability. I mean, I know that it sucks, but you really gotta do that. Just keep your composure as best as you can and try to like problem solve, because that's what needs to happen in that moment. There's so many times. I mean, even in that situation, I think there's so many scenarios that you and I could definitely go down as far as like things you could have done differently. And I think one is, even if you had to and it sucks, if you had to power down your stuff, you totally could do that, especially at that like place, because it's like everything's kind of ran independently. So and I mean this for especially for like the beginners, if you're not familiar with what I'm talking about, she could have literally like powered everything down if it was really going crazy. She could have powered like her system down and then just went on the mic and stalled. And I mean, you've
Yeah.
experienced that, like, when you've been out. And I had shout out to my homie B Rock. I don't know if I was able to talk about this on my last podcast, but he actually saved my ass on the last event that I was on with him. Um, my stuff was
One
going.
second, Wally. 1 second. 1 second.
Go
I gotta
ahead.
1 second. I gotta plug something in here. 1 second. My
Go
apologies.
ahead.
Yeah, let's get my just charging up my battery. Keep talking. Sorry. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, you're good. So what I was gonna say is, damn, you're making me lose my train of thought.
Sorry.
It's all good. Oh, I was talking about my homie B Rock and kind of like how he saved my ass, and pretty much my stuff was going nuts, like prime time set, which sucks, and it was completely out of my control. But my shit started going nuts, and so my homie B Rock, fortunately seasoned in the club scene, he's like in clubs like every weekend, you know. He knew exactly what to do. He's like, "Yo, go ahead and restart your stuff. I got you." So like as my stuff is like freaking out, I start powering things down, restarting it. Mind you, I had a fresh restarted computer. Everything should have been working perfectly. But just shit happens sometimes.
It's
So
technology, right?
yeah, so
It's technology.
my stuff, I start powering it down, and then my buddy B Rock hops on the mic instantaneously. And like I said, like he didn't even flinch. He just hops on the mic as my stuff's restarting. He's like, yo, LA, like they trying to shut us the fuck down, but we're not done yet. We're not fucking done. And he doesn't even say one time that we're having technical difficulties. He's just going through this little ordeal that he has, like, yo, where are the single ladies that make some noise? And like it's dead silence, but he's filling that space. And my stuff is coming back to life, and he's like, where you guys at? And then they make some noise, and he feels that dead air, and he saved my ass completely. And I think that that could have been exactly what Grimes could have did. Like, her shit's fucking up, power your stuff down, restart it, hop on that mic, like, you know without even flinching, just be like, Coachella, like, I want to take a moment here and just be grateful for this moment that we are all out here in this same space. And it's amazing to see all you guys out here. And your stuff is like, like low key, you're freaking out. Your stuff's coming back on, but you got to do that. That's like the gig, right? That's totally like what should be going down in that situation. And just share an endearing message like, I love you all so much. Thank you all for being here. I know you could have been at main stage. I know you could have been over here, but you're right here with me celebrating, and I appreciate you all so much. And we're gonna get this thing back in fire, and then boom, like hit them with the next track. As soon as your stuff's good to go. But that didn't happen.
I know. I know. Well, I mean, I don't know much about her. Like I know that she's, a very popular producer,
Mhm.
which is great. And I think that, you know, more people are looking for ways to monetize and get out from behind the boards and get into the forefront. And so people are choosing the avenue of DJing. But, 20 years ago when we had Paris Hilton, trying this thing and just throwing songs that are not playing, like, I know it seems cute, but for people who take this craft seriously, it's like a bit of a slap in the face. And I think, I've had situations as well where my computer crashed, Serato crashed, and then I had to do what you were saying and improvise. Actually, I remember one gig I did this early in my DJ career. It had never happened to me, and the MacBook that I had, it was known that the GPU on the MacBook, the graphics processor unit for this year of laptop, was known to crash out and just cut. So here it is. I'm playing music, got the party vibing. Thank the Lord that it was a song that actually people knew. So when the whole system crashed, people kept singing thinking that I was doing this on purpose,
Mm.
right? So I'm like, yeah, everybody, like, yeah, yeah, sing, sing, sing. And they're like literally like singing this whole song. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, like hitting this thing in the background.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, like I had a mic and I was trying to hold it down and just talk and stall. And then I'm like, hey everyone, let's give it up for Natasha. It's her birthday one time. Isn't she looking great, everyone? Wouldn't you agree? Yay. Ah, who's having a good time tonight? Yay. All right, you guys ready to party some more? Yay. And then it's like, okay, jigga, jigga, jigga. Okay, I got a sound again and let's roll with it. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I think there's ways to, like you said, save it. But I mean, the reality too is that I think I don't want to get into a situation where I'm judging her because it's not really about her. It's like her actions. But I mean, clearly she felt like she's in a space of safety with her community. But the reality is that with hundreds of thousands of people there, I don't know if all those people were there directly for her, right? Because I think, to my understanding, there was like other DJs that came on after her, right? Or was that area just simply for her fans? Like, I'm
Yeah,
not completely
I mean,
sure.
I don't know like what her time slot. I mean, we could totally look it up if we want to, but I don't know what her time slot was. But yeah, wherever she was, the chances are, it's a whole lineup in there. So there was probably, if she wasn't like
Yeah. Like,
headlining, then there was people that were on after her, and then there's people on before her because pretty much there's like five stages, I think, and every stage has the lineup.
yeah. So I mean, I do know that there was a lineup. I just wasn't sure if like at that particular time if that area was like just designated for her, right? So I know that there was a lineup, and so therefore you have a bit more of a responsibility regardless of who's in front of you to perform. If it's your own community and just people coming to see you, there's a little bit more of like a love fest there where it's like, oh, it's okay. Like, we're with you. Like, figure it out. We'll be patient. We got you. But when you're just one DJ performing at a stage and there's others who went before you and coming after you, then the reality is that not all the people there are fangirling over or fanboying over the fact that you don't know what the hell you're doing. And to be honest, even if they were a fanboy or fangirl, they're owed, um, for you to be able to perform and like know your tracks, not mess up your transitions, like the whole night through, and definitely equipment mastery to actually know how to get yourself unstuck, right? And
Hmm.
um, and the reason why is because it wasn't a free show. So people have paid a lot of money. I've never been to Coachella, but obviously it's somewhat exclusive because it's a big financial investment to pay to go and be a part of it, right? And so because there's that transaction, now the expectation of what's happening it changes, right? So I think you owe it to your audience to be able to perform at the highest level possible. um, not anything related per se, but this kind of leads me to a little bit off topic, but also it's about drinking, right? And so it's about drinking when you perform, right? So I have a policy for my team, myself and my team, that when we perform, like we never drink, and that's because we want people to be able to show up and be the best version of themselves and be able to perform at a high level. And we want to give couples, we want to give our corporate contacts that peace of mind that when we're performing, that we're not under any kind of influence that's impairing us from being able to deliver the type of experience that they're paying for, right? So a few things on our end that are we feel important that we're hoping translates to the event being a great event.
Yeah. I was trying to look up like when she performed. I don't see it. I really am like looking through the whole thing, but I was trying to see where like what time she performed. Doesn't I'm not seeing it.
Yeah, like
But
I know that people were mentioning how other DJ sets were great, so I know that people performed before her, and people were saying that others like slayed it, killed it, and they didn't have the issue. But from what I've been reading, it seems like this is something that's not happened for the first time to her. It's actually happened several times, and so yeah, like you need a tutorial on how to work the equipment. Me personally, I'm like a turntable guy or a controller person. I'm not really a big fan of CDJs. I've had some negative experiences. And even with those negative experiences, I was able to figure things out. But I think for me to perform where you're going to get the best version of me as a DJ, I think I would always do it on a controller or I would be doing it on turntables.
Yeah, yeah, man. I mean, like I said, at the end of the day, like you got to know your gear, and then you get a rider. So I don't know why you wouldn't put stuff that you know. It's interesting. Um, but yeah, I did definitely want to talk about that. Um, and then a little side note, just to kind of like, I don't know if you're into it at all, but have you been keeping up with all this like the disses with Drake and Kendrick and J. Cole? Have you been by any chance, out of curiosity?
Yeah, like a little bit. Obviously, Drizzy Drake, right? He's from my city, right? So I think to argue that he's not the number one guy right now in hip hop, I think you'd be a fool to say. I know that there could be layers of how we would define why someone's in the top spot or not, but I think just in terms of social media, I think relevancy just in terms of pop culture. I think in terms of who is someone who has a lot of influence, and when their name is attached to something, there is a direct impact, a monetarily or a monetary distinction. Like you're going to earn more, you're going to become more recognizable if you partner with Drake or the OVO brand. Like there's like definitely a very real sense of who he is. So yeah, like I think this whole thing with him, Rick Ross, Kendrick, J. Cole, like I've been like loosely following it. I'm not entirely sure how it started. I think it may have been like over a woman or something like that, which is kind of silly. But I don't know. I think beefs are good. Obviously, we don't want it to spill over into something violent,
Right.
but I think like some beef to kind of spice things up and to get the best out of all the rappers and stuff to see who kind of comes out on top, I think is what hip hop is partially been birthed on, and it's part of what makes hip hop such a fun thing. I'm a bit disappointed J. Cole kind of like made his diss song and then retracted it, and I'm like, what are we doing here, bro? Like you look kind of soft doing that. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
if you never wanted to do the song, why did you put all that effort into getting into the studio, penning it, putting it up on Spotify and Tidal and Apple, and then now after a couple of days you're like, "Oh, my bad," and like I have some regret. Like I get it, but like why did you respond in the first place then? You know what I mean? It just seems like a sucker move a little bit.
Yeah, man. Like I said, I just wanted to just drop like a little bit of just some little dialogue about it, just because it's fun to talk about, Um, and I mean, yeah, I think the origins of it is a whole nother deal. But I mean, as far as the recent stuff goes, it's the first person shooter thing came out. Um, Drake and Cole were like teaming up, saying it's like the top three is like him, Cole, and Kendrick, and then Kendrick comes and says like, "Nah, fuck y'all. It's not the big three. It's just me." And then, like you said, then like the next thing was uh Cole putting out a diss on his album. It said like it's the last song, and then he puts out a diss. But then like 2-3 days later, at a concert, publicly apologizes and like retracts the whole thing, and then actually removes the disc from all streaming platforms. Um, so yeah, that is weird, and it's funny because like I talk to this stuff about or with my friends, just for fun. I have a couple buddies too that are like pretty into all this like rap beef and all this stuff like that. And it's funny because I was talking to my buddy, and he was saying that he was really disappointed in J. Cole, and that is like he like truly he really feels that Kendrick and J. Cole if anyone could go pound for pound, round for round, it would be those two. Like those guys are both, they're both dope ass rappers. Like they're hot and they're current. So they're up to par. They are definitely like heavyweight champion material. So and that's just like in this lyrical thing. Like they both have this like lyrical hype behind them. Like it's like Common, I think, is in the same boat. I think Common's very lyrical, but he's just not like he's not current and he's not doing music really. You
Yeah,
know?
like he definitely is like a true MC. But I think in terms of this newer generation, like I mean, we could start getting into like Eminem, KRS-One,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
Common, like that's kind of like more the older generation, or like Ice Cube, or like when you or Nas, you think
yeah,
of guys who can really pen and spit. But yeah, I definitely think Cole, Kendrick, thing. I mean, even Rick Ross is trying to like elbow his way into the social
yeah.
relevancy, which is kind of funny to me. Good for him trying to like battle with the big boys. You know what I mean? I would say that Rick Ross can kind of come out a little bit underrated. I did hear his track; it was like all right, and we have to remember. I mean, Ross could be the sleeper in this because if you remember when 50 Cent took out Ja Rule, took out like all these other rappers, he tried to get at Rick Ross, but actually it helped Rick Ross kind of elevate his whole brand and stuff a lot better. So I think if you survive 50, I think that he's probably looking at these guys like these guys are like little pop tarts compared to a big boss like 50, right? I don't gotta fear Kendrick, or I don't gotta fear Drake. These guys are like to him probably look at them like they're not real gangsters. They're just studio rappers. Why do I got to be afraid of these guys? So
I did want to finish that little sentiment too, that like if anyone could have went toe to toe, it would have definitely been like Cole and Kendrick. um and so that's what my friend was saying, is that like it's disappointing because like uh Cole is pretty much saying like, I feel like Muhammad Ali out here. Like, well, dude, if you're at your prime and then someone steps up to you, like Muhammad Ali's not gonna shy away. He's gonna be like, well, let's go, let's get in the ring, let's do it. So that's really what like we were kind of hoping for. And then the disc came out and then he retracted it, and it's whack because it's like you pretty much like said like, yeah, I'm down to fight, and then you're like, no, never mind, I didn't really mean that. And the funny thing is, I told when I talked to my boy about it, I was like, so what do you think Kendrick's gonna do? And he was like, do you think Kendrick's gonna respond? Like, what do you kind of anticipate from Kendrick? And he was saying like, he's like, dude, I want Kendrick to squash him. I want Kendrick to like just step on his head, like he's like, I don't know if he's really gonna do that, but that's what I want. And I was like, dang, you're a savage. You really want that to go down? He's like, hell yeah, like let's see him go at it. And I'm like, I feel that, like even though it's kind of messed up though, because like you don't want to look at Cole like that, but right now Cole's kind of on the ground because he apologized, and like you want Kendrick to just kick him while he's down, like, hey, fuck you, fuck your apology too, like just for some beef, but
yeah,
but then
no,
it kind of like the next thing I just is it's interesting is that for one, with all this AI stuff, I don't even know. Like, I'm gonna sound like an old head right now, I guess, but I don't even know what's real right now. I don't know, like, are responses real? Like, it's like AI. It's like AI rapping's getting out, and then like leaked disses are coming out, and so
yeah,
it's this time. I will say right now is like kind of confusing because I think that there's a response from Drake, but then this morning I just saw that there was a response from Kendrick, but it doesn't seem like it's coming from Kendrick. It's just coming from this account. So I don't know if it's real, but this is like the hard part, is like discerning like reality from AI.
yeah. I mean, and I guess my thing is like who leaks it, right? And I think we're just in a different era now where attention, media attention, all this kind of stuff is what's more important, right? And so something could be leaked and then they could say, oh, it's fake. And then it just stays in the headlines for like a few days and everyone's kind of excited. So it just seems like we're manufacturing beef, or we're manufacturing stuff just to manufacture it for some level of social relevancy or whatever it is. So yeah, I would agree it's a bit tricky, but I think for me, what's more disappointing is just that I don't know. Like to me, it's like the essence of hip hop is like braggadocio, right? It's telling the stories of what happened in the inner city. There's like a social justice element, right, where we're rapping about something or talking about something to bring attention or light to something, right? We're talking about how many girls we got. We're talking about the gear we got. We're talking about stuff that happens in the community. Like I know that that's sort of like some of the foundational messages, right? And obviously we're talking about love and life and learning things and using slick ways and metaphors to kind of bring it to light. But yeah, like today's content and today's rapper, although similar, some of them, yeah, like definitely cut from a different cloth. Like I can't recall, like I don't ever recall Cannabis retracting and apologizing to LL, or No Vaseline coming out and then being like, "Oh, my bad, sorry, dog. Like I didn't really mean it. It's not sitting well." Or I know Nas and Jay Z, they quote ended their beef, and I just looked at that as like I wish Nas didn't do that, because I looked at that as like a business move from Jay Z, right? Maybe trying to get the upper hand in some way, and so like I'm getting one over on Nas, or I'm gonna bring about this truce, but then like whatever, like it's just I feel like it was Jay Z trying to be like what Jay Z is, a businessman, right? But I don't recall any of those guys you know, recalling their 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 diss track, right? So I just think makes Cole. It makes him look really soft, and for me, even if I don't want to go that route and be labeled a misogynist, or you're just perpetuating blah 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 blah, just even from a standpoint of common sense, like again, why pen a 7-minute song? Why get into a booth? Why have your team upload it, and then 2 3 days later you're gonna apologize? Like why go through all that effort? Like if you were running on emotion, maybe record it and then maybe wait a couple days and say, okay, if I'm still this hot after 2 or 3 days, then I'll put it out there. But if I kind of calm down or say, hey, you know what, maybe this isn't a good look, then just don't let it get out, right? I don't know.
Yeah.
It just seems confusing and odd to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man, interesting, interesting. I'm glad that we covered that though. Like I said, I had a couple of things that I did want to talk about. In particular, like as far as like current times. So I'm glad that we were able to, and it's just fun, Like I'm definitely. We didn't really get to talk about this part, but I am definitely living in different times myself because, like I said, I have a baby on the way. So I've been learning this like stay at home dad stuff, and I have 4 stepchildren now. So I mean I'm like super swamped with all their schedules, like driving
Wow.
them to school and doing all this stuff. Yeah, it's a whole new world for me, that I'm experiencing. And it's fun, it's cool. uh, but it's just the time management aspect is
Yeah.
a whole nother ballpark. It's like, and the cool thing is I still do have my own time, so pretty much from like 7 in the morning to like 1 is all me. I mean, anytime before 7 as well, but it's all me. Like that's me time. And then after 1, like I gotta start picking up the kids. I'll take them to dance and stuff like that. So after 1 is kind of like, hey man, like then you're pretty occupied. So from 7 to 1, that's your like 5 hours to get things done. And if you don't do it within that time frame, then it's gonna be pretty hard to do after. So that's the part that like is new to me, and I'm learning to manage it, and like really trying to be selective with the things that I'm investing my time in. So usually what I do for sure is like I start off with the gym for like an hour, then I come back and then I start to do things. And now it's kind of like having those things that I want to do in a particular order, like the things that absolutely need to get done. So yeah, I mean, I've kind of been, focused on content creation as well. Content creation, in terms of like, yeah, videos or reels, if I want to do any of that stuff. I am working on a current mix right now that is already due that I haven't finished, but I'm probably about like, I would say like 80% done, but it needs to be
Okay.
outputted immediately. So that's kind of like, a work in progress. And what else was I gonna say? Oh, and I'm just practicing. That's a cool thing is that, like, with my own time, is that I practice every day. And that's just having fun. Like, I just get new songs, and then I just play with them in any way that I want to, and just kind of like experimenting. And the cool thing is that when I'm practicing, is that like any little creative things that I learn and I figure out, then that stuff can translate into content if I wanted to, like the cool little song sample thing that I figured out. Cool, like that seems like good content that I want to output for a reel. So not only am I getting this practice out of it, but now like um I can record it and then output it and convey it to the world.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, let's talk about that. It's funny because I had another entrepreneur talk to me a little bit about this. Uh, it was funny. One, he was like, when I look at your social media, he's like, he's like, it looks like you're doing well, right? And I'm like, well, yeah, like I feel definitely a level of success because I'm able to, through my creative means, like, and my artistic talents, like, make money to provide for my family. So, I think you kind of asked me, like, do you feel successful? And I said, like, yeah, like that to me is success. I go, I want to have more success, right? Which is like bigger checks, bigger contracts, bigger bookings and stuff. But I do feel successful, right? Right now, I'm currently just kind of pushing through a situation where I'm trying to get rid of a lot of debt. I'm trying to redo some things with my mortgage and try to get myself more free and stuff. But yeah, I also have two boys. Being married, it's like it can be a lot. My kids are involved in activities. They do math. They're in a math program. They do track twice a week. They do capoeira. They want to spend time with their
Nice.
friends, and so it's like things can be really busy. And I guess he was asking me sort of like, how do you kind of juggle things? And yeah, I mean, I always trying to reevaluate how I use my time. I find sometimes that I'm constantly working. And then the other thing is, yeah, it's also like, where do you find moments for yourself? And I think what used to be natural, right, just to kind of rush out and do something, now kind of has to be a bit more planned, right? And so, as I mentioned, my age, right, I'm not a spring chicken anymore, and I don't always have the energy to be running around doing everything all the time, right? I need my own downtime, and sometimes just sitting and not doing anything is enough. But I'm realizing lately that I need to get around friends, I need to be re energized, I need to enjoy socialization with adults away from my wife and kids and other responsibility, just to kind of like recharge, right? So, I would definitely say to people out there who have like kids, family, or other big obligations is to try to, you got to block away that time and be really intentional to like open up your calendar like we did today. It's like, okay, like let's do Thursday, but like, yeah, but like what time Thursday, not just kind of Thursday anytime, right? And then obviously making up for the time difference, right? We're 3 hours difference. So in order to make everything fit and work, we have to be really intentional. And I would, recommend that to others as well, that yeah, if you want to you know achieve a certain result, if you want something to happen, it has to be done intentionally. Otherwise, you can probably pretty much guarantee it's not going to happen.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I think on that note, I think we could end it. I want you to output any last like things that you want to mention. Make sure you mention your social media stuff, because
Yeah.
I know that you're an advocate of DJing and the culture and people. Like, we don't even know each other like necessarily like that well, but you've always been an ally. ever since I met you, ever since day one. You know, you've been people, bro, and so I appreciate you. And I highly encourage that anybody that, like, found this conversation interesting, or you feel like you could relate to anything, I would highly encourage anybody who is listening or watching to reach out to you, because like I said, you're good people, and you're a fan of all of it, of music, of DJing, of it all. So, like I said, any last things that you want to say to the audience, and then just say your social media stuff, and we'll be out of here.
Yeah, man, for sure. Well, once again, thank you, bro. Yeah, it's been maybe about 3, 4 years now we've known each other through Twitch and this amazing art form. So I am extremely grateful and humble we made this connection, and we'll just continue
Hmm.
to deepen it. And happy you're gonna become a father,
Thank you.
very soon, joining the ranks and stuff. And yeah, grateful for this time. So yeah, if people want to learn a little bit more about Love Music Initiative, simply follow me on IG. It's at Love Music Initiative. So at Love Music Initiative or lovemusicinitiative.com. And then if you want to learn a little bit more about me in my hat as a DJ, it's djelegance.ca. We're in Canada, so it's no .com.ca. And then you can follow me on IG and most socials at DJ underscore elegance. So at DJ underscore elegance. And you can kind of see, what I'm up to. And yeah, that's pretty much it, man. I'm very grateful for the time and be able to chop it up with you, and definitely look forward to the next time we can chat away again.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, friends, family, and listeners. Thank you all for tuning in. We appreciate you, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace out, y'all.
Peace.